Sarah Everard was born in 1987 in the British county of Surrey. As a child, she and her parents moved to York City, where she graduated from high school and college. After some time, she moved to London and got a job at a marketing agency, where she soon received the position of head of the department. Sarah spent the evening of March 3, 2021 visiting a friend. At about 9 o'clock in the evening she headed home, deciding to walk. The route should have taken about 50 minutes. On the way, she called her boyfriend and they agreed to meet the next day. Since then, the girl has not been in touch. The next day, March 4th, her boyfriend contacted the police. Law enforcement agencies began a search and first of all reconstructed Sarah's route from her friend to her home. This route ran through the Clapham area, which is located near the centre of London. At the same time, hundreds of volunteers joined the search. They posted leaflets and searched streets and parks. Police interviewed about 750 potential witnesses and reviewed CCTV footage. In one of them they saw Sarah walking along Poinders Road at 9:28 in the evening. At that moment she was still talking to her boyfriend on the phone. 4 minutes later, the girl was caught on camera by a passing police car. Unfortunately, this footage did not help police determine the woman's current location. The search dragged on for several days, and already on March 9, 6 days after Sarah's disappearance, the police announced the arrest of a suspect in her abduction. To everyone's surprise, he turned out to be 48-year-old police officer Wayne Couzens. The man joined the Metropolitan Police in September 2018. Before his arrest, he patrolled the streets where the Palace of Westminster, the Prime Minister's residence, and foreign embassies are located. Moreover, he was carrying an automatic weapon, and in Britain not all police officers have access to it. The police did not specify what evidence led them to the trail of their colleague. All that was known was that a search was carried out in the suspect's house, and his partner was also detained. She was suspected of assisting the criminal, but was soon released without charges. Immediately after the arrest, a wave of indignation occurred throughout Britain. Women across the country demanded that the case be transferred to another department because no one believed that the police would investigate their colleague's case properly. But then the situation worsened even more. On March 10, police discovered human remains in a forest near Ashford, about 90 kilometers from London. They were in a black bag. It took experts several days to establish his identity. To do this, they had to request the deceased's dental records. It turned out it was Sarah. The police did not specify what the criminal did with the body that they had to use a dental record to identify it. Immediately after this, Couzens was charged with murder. While he was in custody, he was taken to hospital twice. Both times the man suffered head injuries. According to the official statement, the suspect suffered these injuries while he was alone in his cell. Let's not speculate on how he actually got them. The whole of Britain was shocked that a policeman kidnapped a girl almost in the centre of London without any problems. On March 13, people decided to picket to honour Sarah's memory and express their outrage. However, London police banned the event, citing the virus and restrictions. The organisers of the picket tried to challenge this decision in the High Court, but even there they were banned. Because of this, the event was divided into two parts. Some people stayed home and lit candles outside the doors at 9:30 p.m. Prime Minister Boris Johnson joined this action. Others took this ban with hostility and took to the streets. Several hundred people, mostly women, gathered near the makeshift memorial with posters, candles and lanterns. At first everything went calmly. The police who arrived at the scene did not interfere and stood aside. However, at some point, law enforcement agencies decided to disperse the picket, citing the same anti-COVID restrictions. As a result, several women were detained. This police behavior caused even more outrage throughout the country. People have called for the resignation of Metropolitan Police Service Commissioner Cressida Dick. They were perplexed that a female commissioner would so harshly disperse a peaceful picket where other women were demanding justice for Sarah Everard. In response to criticism, the head of the police said that anti-COVID restrictions were in force in the country and those gathered put themselves and others at risk. But these explanations satisfied neither the public nor the government. Prime Minister Boris Johnson and London Mayor Sadiq Khan criticised the Commissioner's actions and supported the women who took to the picket. They also promised to take action to protect women from harassment on the streets of London. Over the next few days, even more people came to the memorial, but this time the police did not intervene and only stood aside. The picketers demanded not only a fair investigation into Sarah's case, but also safety for all women on the streets. Meanwhile, Wayne Couzens was preparing to appear in court while in custody. The public was waiting for the start of the process to finally find out the details of what happened. The trial began only a few months later, and on July 8 the criminal pleaded guilty. A few days before the incident, Wayne rented a car and bought a roll of strong film. The offender did not know Sarah Everard and chose her as a victim after he saw her on the street. It is not entirely clear how exactly he got her to get into his car. Investigators put forward the theory that the man could have used his official uniform or badge to convince the woman to voluntarily get into the car. Otherwise, if he tried to do it violently, Sarah would have screamed, and someone would have heard it. Wayne then headed to the vicinity of the village of Tilmanston, which is about 2.5 hours away by car from London. Arriving at the scene at about 1 in the morning, he abused Sarah, dealt with her and hid the body. Only several months later did authorities reveal the cause of death. It was strangulation. His route was tracked using street and traffic cameras. Investigators also requested information from the company where the man rented the car to verify that he was actually driving. On the morning of March 4, the day after the murder, the perpetrator returned the rental car. In the following days, the man told colleagues and acquaintances that he was under severe stress and did not want to carry a weapon anymore. On March 8, when he was supposed to report for duty, Wayne said he was sick and did not show up for work. The very next day, around 8 o'clock in the evening, his colleagues came to his home with an arrest warrant. As it turned out later, the man erased all data from his smartphone 40 minutes before their arrival. During the first interrogation, Wayne told his colleagues a made-up story, worked out to the smallest detail. He stated that he often used the services of call girls, but had recently experienced financial difficulties and could not pay them. Then the criminal group from Eastern Europe that controlled this business began to threaten him. As a solution to the problem, they allegedly demanded that the policeman bring him a new woman. Of course, no one believed this story. Firstly, the man served in a fairly elite police unit, and it would hardly have been wise to threaten him over a small amount of money. Secondly, this story simply doesn't make sense. Even if this story were true, does that make Wayne any less guilty? Of course not. During the investigation, they found out another interesting fact. In 2015, the Kent County Police Department received a complaint about a certain man who was sitting naked in a car. Apparently, police had enough information to identify the man as Wayne Couzens, but it never happened. At that time he was already serving in the police, just in a different department. As you can imagine, he would most likely be fired for such behavior. But that's not all. In February 2021, Wayne publicly exposed himself in a restaurant, after which 2 police officers were called to the scene. Despite this, he also did not suffer any punishment. The investigation into this case continued until the summer. Just a few days before the attack on Sarah, a man was questioned in connection with this situation. The final court hearing is expected to take place on September 29. If there are no new twists in the case, the man may be given a final verdict. What do we have in the end? First of all, it looks like Wayne's colleagues turned a blind eye to repeated incidents of public nudity. For any of them, he could not only lose his job, but also receive criminal punishment. Secondly, this situation showed all residents of London that a woman can be kidnapped almost in the very center of the city, on well-lit streets. We still don't know how the police connected Wayne to this crime. Perhaps his rental car was caught on street cameras near the streets Sarah was walking along. Most likely, this information will be revealed at the trial on September 28, and we will talk about it. In the meantime, let's hope that the culprit receives the maximum punishment. Stay safe and thanks for watching.